Scanning. It's my least favorite part of the process. But Lomography sent me their new DigitaLIZA Max. Can this be the solution to all my problems? Hello there, my precious little eggies. Welcome back to the channel. I've had the Lomography DigitaLIZA Max for about 2 weeks now. I've used it a bit and I have many thoughts. Full disclosure, my friends at Lomography sent me this unit as a loaner to test out and make a video. I said unit. The question on your mind, will I be buying one of these? I'll tell you at the end of the video. I need watch time. The DigitaLIZA Max is designed with a smartphone in mind, and there are two versions, the DigitaLIZA Plus and the DigitaLIZA Max. The Plus doesn't come with the copy stand for your phone, the Max does. But both versions allow you to backlight and easily scan your 35mm and 120 film. And they allow you to shoot sprocket holes, which is pretty cool. The kit comes with this slidey base thing, the backlight which holds your 120 film, the rolly slidey thing for 35mm film, which is equipped with a spirit level. It has scanning masks for sprocketless 35mm film and 127 film, and of course, the stand for your smartphone. The kit is not designed to mount a camera. If you want to use your camera, you're going to have to use a tripod, which I did, but we'll talk about using the phone method first. So with that out of the way, let's test it out with 3 phones, an Apple iPhone 12, a Samsung Galaxy S22, and just for good measure, my beat up Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. I'm sure that one's gonna do great compared to the other two. Scanning with the DigitaLIZA is very straightforward. Just mount your film in the holder, pop your phone on the stand, and snap some photos. The speed at which you can fly through a roll of 35mm film is wild. 120 film does take a bit longer because you have to keep opening and closing the thing here though, but it's still pretty quick, especially compared to a flatbed scanner. I took a strip of 6 35mm photos and got through them in about 2.5 minutes on my phone versus 21 minutes on the Epson V550. It's time for a quick comparison before we go any further. Which phone do you think shot which photo? Were you surprised? I wasn't. In my humble opinion, the iPhone photos look the best in terms of color and not having ghoulish over sharpening. To keep things as scientific as possible, I shot all the photos on all 3 phones in the standard photo mode, no custom settings, and I applied the same exact settings across the board in Negative Lab Pro. I find the Android photos to be a little bit too blue out of camera, the S9 Plus especially, and a little over sharpened. Of course, you can fix this in Lightroom or whatever program you prefer to edit your photos. All in all though, these look pretty good. If you pixel peep, things start to get a little questionable, but pixel peeping is for nerds, so we're not gonna really get too into that here. I did have one instance with the S9 Plus where I got some really strange artifacting. Ew. But obviously that has nothing to do with the scanner, that's just the phone.
Fucking thing sucks!
This initial testing led me to a big takeaway though. You are limited by your phone if you buy this. If you're like me and you're rocking an Android from 1906, don't expect the same results as a modern Android or iPhone. The unit itself feels well assembled. It is plasticky in certain areas, but it doesn't feel flimsy, especially compared to the old Lomography film scanner. I would side by side it, but I don't have my original film scanner anymore, but I did make a video about it. 35mm film travels through the unit smoothly. It does a good job of holding the negative straight, but it does get a little odd once you hit the end of a strip. I have noticed that if there isn't enough tension, the negatives can slightly bend, which will mess up the perspective. This is true of both 35mm and 120 film. One of the big concerns I had in general with the idea of scanning photos in this manner with a digital camera or a phone was, of course, the dust. So what's the verdict on the dust? Well, after hitting all the strips of film with a rocket duster, honestly, it's not bad. There is some minor Lightroom cleanup to be done, plus over the years I've gotten a lot better about keeping my negatives clean. This just happens to be an older one. Overall though, the time saved scanning in this method makes the Lightroom cleanup worth it in my opinion. Another thing I definitely learned while I was testing this is you gotta do this in somewhat subdued light. I filmed most of the B-roll for this video with natural light, and as a result it was actually bright enough that I could see the reflection of the phone in some of the photos.
Let's start by getting some sunlight in here.
We've spent a bunch of time talking about the phone, so let's move on a little bit here now and bring in a new challenger. You know I wasn't just gonna test out phones for this video.
He's a good man. And thorough.
I broke out my least favorite camera, the Sony A6400, because as of right now, it is the only macro option I have. Why use a macro lens, you ask?
That's cute that you said that, cause you're a freaking idiot.
Because the minimum focusing distance of your lens or phone plays a major role in this process. If you can fill the frame with your negatives, you're getting way more resolution to play around with as opposed to doing a significant crop on the photo. I probably should mention that I am using some weird old Nikon macro lens that's adapted onto the A6400 here, so I probably would be getting better results from something something a little bit more modern, but this is all I have. Honestly, I think the A6400 photos look much better than the mobile photos.
I am shocked. Shocked! Well, not that shocked.
But here's the caveat, it's way more work to set up. You gotta get the tripod, you gotta balance it out, and the head of my tripod doesn't come out at a 90-degree angle, so that's a whole thing. It's a nightmare. Once it's set up, it's simple and quick and you can fly through a roll, but getting there is definitely a little bit of a pain in the anus. And granted, I don't do this often. If I did it more regularly, I'm sure it would be easier to become more second nature, but it was a little bit annoying, especially in my office to set up. In my humble opinion, there is no comparison. The results from a digital camera are just so much better than a phone. Some of you might be like me and wondered how this stacks up against a flatbed scanner. I've found, much like everything else in this hellscape we call the internet, that there is passionate debate over what's the best way to scan your precious little neggies. You see that? That rhymes with eggies. Some people swear by using a digital camera, others swear by the flatbeds. For the last 2, 3, maybe more years, I've been using the Epson V550, or as I call her, Our Lady of Perpetual Dust. So how do the scans stack up? I'm thinking the Epson scan looks the best, and I'm thinking that the A6400 was definitely not perfectly straight because part of it's a little bit out of focus. Good thing that's not the only shot I took. When you actually get your camera in focus, yeah, I know, it's a crazy idea. I think it can hang with the Epson V550. Once again, if you pixel peep, I think it becomes apparent, but ask yourself honestly, how many people on Instagram are gonna pinch to zoom on your photos and say, this appears to be scanned with a phone and not a scanner? Someone who does that isn't gonna like your work anyway, so who cares? I will say that the DigitaLIZA is easier in a lot of ways. There's some problems I have with the Epson V550 that I'm going to put on screen right now. You can pause it if you're interested. I just felt like it was way too much to get into. Maybe I need to make an Epson V550 video eventually. The too long didn't read is that I do find the DigitaLIZA a little bit more convenient, even though you have to spend some time setting up the camera and the tripod. I do think the Epson V550 looks marginally better, but that also might be due to technique. I'm new to the whole digital camera scanning thing, so I don't doubt that I have room to improve. But that said, the DigitaLIZA is also half the price of an Epson V550, which, by the way, you can't buy new anymore, you have to go used. And that's not counting the price of the camera or the phone, but if you're watching this video, you probably have at least one of the two.
Do you guys not have phones? Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
And the last bit of the equation here to consider is the size. The DigitaLIZA Max is so much smaller than an Epson V550, so if you live in a small apartment, this is definitely a space saver. I guess now is as good as any time to talk about workflow. I bring the photos into Lightroom and I do my dirty work using Negative Lab Pro, mainly because I'm a creature of habit and I really don't like the idea of editing photos on your phone.
You think you've
edited a photo
on your fucking telephone. Get real.
Boomer! You gotta choose the workflow that's right for you. You can edit on a phone all you want. Personally, it's just not my cup of tea. You gotta think a little bit about where your photos are gonna live. Scanning your photos with your phone probably isn't the move if you're gonna be printing for a billboard. But the majority of photos I take end up living on the internet, and that's probably true of many of the people who are watching this video. It is wildly convenient to have your film scans right on your phone. You're able to edit them right there and post them straight to Instagram. I really do think that was the workflow Lomography had in mind when they made this product. Plus, you can combine this with the lenses from CineStill and get really quick and dirty uploads to Instagram. So who is this for? I think the DigitaLIZA Max is an awesome solution for beginners, hobbyists, and people who share their photos online in general. Someone who's looking for bigger prints, photo books, and stuff like that, the DigitaLIZA might not cut it though. For me personally, the scans from the phones didn't exactly knock my socks off compared to my Epson V550, but the digital camera workflow definitely has piqued my interest. Who knows? Maybe a DigitaLIZA Plus is in my future. Let me know if you pick up one of these, and if not, let me know how you scan your photos in the comments below. And if you made it to this point in the video, make sure you use the word over easy. Phrase, words, whatever, over easy in the comments below. This video is now over. Bye.
Like and subscribe. Sweet Loop Photography. Domain.